keep showing up. If no one invests in you, invest in yourself. If no one believes in you, believe in yourself. Even if you don't see the results right away, keep showing up until you do see the results. Even if you don't see the results for a very, very long time, keep showing up.
What's up, people? We're here with Amine from Elite Sports Construction. Man, we've known each other for probably about 6 years now.
Yeah, I would say about 6
maybe
years.
Maybe a little longer.
Your house, when you were building your house. So how long have you had your house now?
We had the house this August for 10 years.
Okay,
10
so I
years.
came in like a couple years after you guys started.
Couple years after we started.
You're still working on the outdoor side of it. Yeah.
So
long journey.
Long journey, man. And we're still not done. We still got a lot of work to go over there, but little by little.
Sure.
I'm in no rush, right? You know, I'll be there forever.
Work at home never ends, as you know.
And of course, it's like the last.
Yeah,
that's all the last on my list. Thank you for coming in, brother, man.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We have great conversations on the phone. We kind of bounce ideas off each other.
For sure.
I look up to you, man. You got a hell of a business here, and we buy a lot of turf from you. So,
Likewise.
Anyone in the Delco, Monco area that needs synthetic turf, call Amine and Elite Sports Construction. They handle it all. They install turf. Not only, give a little background on what you do.
We do anything that has to do with sport construction. We started with artificial turf. Artificial turf is what we specialize in first, and then we slowly graduated from that to other products. Artificial turf, is trending right now, both in sports construction that we do, the fields, but with the residential, and what we can do with the residential is the possibilities are endless. Especially toward where we head in, as you already know, with outdoor living. People want to enjoy outside as much as they enjoy inside. And they want it to look as good outside as it does inside.
I tell people all the time, stay green all year round. I mean, it's a nice look. If there's no snow on the ground, it's green, right?
Yeah.
Not only that, but a lot of our clients, any of our pool jobs that you see on Facebook or anywhere on our pages, basically all the turf came from Amine and his company. When I met Amine, we started talking about turf, and I'm like, dude, I love using it around hardscape. It's awesome. Anytime we can try and sell it, we sell it. And it kind of breaks up the patios from just being, all marble or all pavers or all stone, and gives it that kind of three-dimensional cool look. You could do a lot with it too.
Absolutely. It goes really well with patios. Any kind of hardscape, and it will go really well. It complements it really well because you're able to work with certain areas that perhaps you can't work with certain blocks or size. So you'll be able to cut shapes much easier than you would do with perhaps concrete or any other of hardscape.
Yeah. Before we get into all the craziness of the turf, I love to use it on the backside of a coping. Right? Because any type of hardscape or concrete material that you put up to the back of the coping, you have to have that kind of expansion joint, right? So this turf will hide that expansion joint, and then you butt your pavers right up to it. It's amazing. It looks amazing. And it actually kind of gives us a better install a little bit quicker, and we don't have to worry about that freeze thaw. Because if the patio shifts eighth of an inch, you're never going to see it with that grass being there up against the coping.
Yeah, for sure. Against the coping or against any area that's going to shift, turf, like any other material, has a shrink rate and an expansion rate, but it has the ability that you can bump into it and push into it a little bit without affecting the overall area and without a visual effect either. Yeah. Also, as you know, with installing the turf, how you install it, and you gap it just like you would do anything else, but because you have the longer fibers, you can mask that gap where it's not visual, but when it's time to expand, or anything to move, it has space for it to move.
Yeah, look at the showroom floor. Like, it wasn't perfect. I put it right on top. I glued it right on top of the plywood, and then I cut in the fringe. But all this fringe was from a leftover job, and the putting green was from a leftover job too. So I was just like, you know what? It'll look great in here. I don't have to worry about doing some sort of floating floor or anything, and I didn't want to carpet. So I think it turned out great.
No, it looks great.
I cut it and fit it. Yeah.
It looks great. It looks like a pro did it.
Yeah. No. I did it on a Saturday by myself because nobody else showed up.
There you go. And that's the double-edged sword. I'm glad you brought it up. That's the double-edged sword with artificial turf. It looks like anybody can do it.
Yeah.
But we both know that
it's tough.
It's tough. There's small details that if you miss on, it's gonna throw everything off.
Yeah, I remember like we didn't really install too much turf up until about that 6 to 7 years ago when we met. But it's hard because like there's the fibers go a certain way. So you want to
Absolutely.
make sure that you hide the seams and the fibers all go the same way. So at first it's tough because you have like, they come in 15
15,
by
yep.
15
Most
by
most come in
30,
15.
40 foot
There's
rolls.
7 foot, there's 12-foot rolls,
Yeah.
but that's more specialty stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's tough because if you're doing a patio or you're doing a checkered pattern, that all those seams, all that the thread count has to go a certain way.
Absolutely.
So you really got to pay attention and know what you're
Yeah,
doing.
with turf, it's directional. It's going to follow the thread line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you have to consider when you're doing your install. You have to consider at first when you're doing your design, how you're going to lay all this turf, how many square foot. And that's where most contractors will come short, in my experience, that don't specialize in turf.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the overall square footage. They order, enough material with a little bit of, 20%, 15% contingency that you have. And you try to fit it as much as you can. And what you have is blades facing each other. And that's when maybe you have a seam where they meet and they'll actually push against each other and you'll have a visual line.
You'll see that
and that
visual
will throw
line.
everything
Yeah.
off on your design. No matter how expensive or how great the turf is, if you don't have those small details nailed, it's going to make it not look right. And eventually the client is not going to be satisfied.
Yeah. It's a great product. I'm glad that I have a connection with someone like you where I could just pick up the phone and call. So I'm sure other people that are in the hardscape business and want to buy from Amine, reach out to us. We can give you his cell and you can buy directly from him at basically, a wholesale cost.
Yeah.
Right?
So what I try to do is the first thing that I notice is most turf. Let's start from the beginning. Turf started in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We are the first at making turf. And we were at one point also the best at making turf. There's some competition now coming from other countries, but still Dalton, Georgia, it is the center, it's the mecca of turf.
Yeah.
But every time you need a roll, half a roll, 30 feet, 50 feet, you're adding crazy costs for shipping from Georgia, and there's about 2 or 3 weeks lead usually.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I thought, I need to have turf here on hand available all the time to anybody. Stock it, because I didn't want to, it throws off your scheduling, it throws off my scheduling. That's more phone calls you and I have to have. So let's have it here, have it ready. And for specialty turf, of course, that's something that we need to discuss. We'll have it ready for you, and it takes us usually no more than a week to have it up here for you.
That's good. So you just recently told me about the different color turfs that you have. You have a black turf and a blue turf, I believe.
Yeah. So we actually have 8 different colors now.
Wow.
Those colors, again, as the demand has become more and more greater, and I'm now especially focusing on residential. You have your home gyms, you have play areas, you have what we call mini home fields. People where they want areas, either in their basements, on the patio, on rooftops now, where they want them to be a certain way. And also you have the other side, which is playgrounds, you have, daycares and all of that. To give them just a green color in a green space, to me was just not enough. We needed something a little bit more, especially for playgrounds and so on. You want some lively colors. You want some blues and some reds and so on and so forth. And also you want to custom made some turf for those home gyms. They have beautiful, I told you I'm in love with that black turf.
Yeah.
It looks great.
I want to use that.
Yeah. I have used it actually on driveways for people that want to do, they cover their driveways, because once it has a strong PSI that can handle a car driving on it. It has a tough back end, which is very, very important in turf.
Is it the same installation process because the tires turn? So
yes.
Is it
so
gonna,
it's a full glue down kind of scenario.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to do a combination of gluing down the entirety of the turf.
On top of concrete.
On top of concrete or blacktop.
Wow.
And then you're also going to have to throw a little bit of infill in there. Sand, Enviro sand is usually best. You can get away with not doing it if, it's not in the client's budget and they just want an area. But for this one specific client I think about, and he's from the area, he is he's known to be a great baseball guy. He volunteers to train all these kids in the community.
Nice.
But he doesn't have the field. He doesn't have the space. He usually just does it in his driveway with the kids. So we got together and I said, hey, we'll have you have a batting cage here for you. that is retractable, 100% retractable, and it's going to be black turf where all your neighbors are not going to know the difference.
Notice, really.
Nobody from your owners association is going to come and complain to you that you have a different color. It's black. From far distance, you think it's just a driveway, but it offers everything that you would need for a play area, safe
crazy.
sports area for training.
I have to take a look at that. Did you finish it already?
Yeah, we finished it. I might have some pictures I could show you later.
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, we finished. This was actually last year, and we've done so many since then because that was like the blueprints.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as somebody sees, I can do this in my driveway, and with the inflatable cages that we have, it's something that you can put up temporarily and take down temporarily.
Yep.
And the trend is going that way. We are doing more and more and more home fields than we have ever done before.
Well, I mean, it's an impervious backing, right? So it's great for an area that may get a little soggy, For sure. You obviously want to do it. I mean, as far as a homeowner goes, they can put it down however they want, right? But it might not last as long unless you have it professionally installed. We like to install everything on an open grade base, especially with turf. So it's basically very impervious for us, and then we install it on 3/8. Some guys install it on modified stone to get a little bit more compaction. Some guys install it with the foam, the foam backing underneath, right?
So to answer all those questions, I always tell people you can do it in many ways, but there's always one right way to do things. And the right way to do it is what you just mentioned. You want to have some loose stone underneath of it. 3/8 stone is perfect for residential because it gives you that compactability. It gives you the drainage needed, and it gives you a good base that's going to last a long time. What you also want to do on top of that 3/8 stone, and it depends again on the application. If I'm doing somebody's backyard where they're telling me, my kids play here every day. I love my kids, but I hate the mud. I hate the fact that they come dirty, dog, and all of that. In that case, I would go with something more like this: a nice plush turf that's going to give it on its own. It has good shock absorption.
Thick,
Yes, it has a good shock absorption. It feels really good. It's non-abrasive for the kids, and that's very important. They're coming around, sliding on this. They're not going to have rug burns, so to speak. And it's going to look really good. It's a very realistic turf. As the attached line adds to it to give it as natural of a look as possible. What I would also recommend is perhaps throwing a shock pad underneath.
Yeah. That'll soften up
that will soften up, and that's the other thing that we focus in. If it's a playground of somebody's house that has 3 or 4 kids, or it's the house where all the kids from the neighborhood come and play, then I would say, hey, we need to be careful here. We need to adhere to HIC, which is head injury criteria, especially if there's a trampoline nearby that they're going to be jumping. Kids
just around the swing set,
set, any of that, we want to cater to that head injury criteria. We want to put a shock pad that brings the G max, which is the unit that counts the force. We want to bring that G max up below 120. Anything above 120, concussion more likely to happen, bone breaking more likely to happen. So, and that's something we adapted from the field side, and we just brought it with us to the residential side, because on the field side, it's risk, player safety. Risk, player safety are the top things. So we brought that with us and just minimize it, shrunk it for the residential side of things.
That's awesome. I hated playing on like the hard fields back in the day at football, and we still play on them with my son's team, and they're just dense, hard dirt, right? But we used to hate playing on turf in high school and college, or I didn't go to college, but college fields are basically the same way now, because people think that, well, back then when we went to school, turf wasn't as big as it is now, and they're probably doing a million different type of applications for a field now. But it's a little less forgiving, but it's still nicer to play on, I think. I mean, you get the turf burn a little bit, but unless it's like the Eagle Stadium, where it's like well done and they aerate the soil so much, so it's not like that hard, compacted dirt.
No, for sure. You're absolutely correct. And to answer your question, it has to go back to, the reason why I decided to go with turf. As you know, my background was never in construction, and I used to be in risk.
And then we're going to get into that in a minute.
And we'll get into that in a minute. But the reason why I picked the turf is it's an engineered surface. It has come a long way since AstroTurf. Hence why most people refer to turf as Astro, because the Astrodome, the Astro team was the first one to put it, and it was just house carpet and dyed green. Nothing, no engineering behind it. It was just something that would look good for TV. Back then, players' safety was not the top priority for teams, not as much as it is now. So the engineering was not invested on it. Since then, we realized, we can save these clubs, these sports teams, these colleges, your local team, hundreds of thousands of dollars on maintenance for a field that's never going to be 100%.
Yeah.
All due respect to grass, unless you have a somebody that has a PhD in grass, they're not gonna get you that perfect field.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of work, and
It's
that's
tough.
something it's
Yeah.
very, very hard. You need
Tough.
somebody on the ground
Yeah.
all day, every day.
I can't tell you how many. I mean, my backyard was beautiful at one point when I finished it, all the sod.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's
I
just the dirt there is just so crazy, dusty, light, fluffy, kind of just. It's the layer that's on top of the bedrock, so that's not like it just doesn't grow
Yeah,
proper
and
grass.
and you're a pro, so you've done more.
Well, you got to water it, right? So
Yeah.
like on these hot summer days where it's 90 to 100 degrees, the sun's just eating it. It can't put enough water on it. So I just had we're about to do irrigation on that back lawn to try and help it, but that's my thing. I wish I could turf the whole field. And I might.
We
I
talked
don't know,
about it a
man.
few times. I
We
told you
did.
the Piazza baseball field
Yeah.
could be
We
there right
might,
there.
dude. It's such a pain in the ass just dealing with the lawn that it would just be better to just turf it all in, because the amount of money I'm going to spend on watering it, redoing it,
Seeding, weeding, and your
weeding.
time.
Yeah.
What we preach most of the time, when people ask, I tell everybody in the team, we don't say it's no maintenance.
Mhm.
It's low maintenance. You're gonna get your time back. More importantly,
Yeah.
you're gonna get less time of that lawnmower run around either your house or your office or whatever it is. It's less worries. It's in wintertime, like you mentioned. It's a couple shovels and you are right there for your dogs to
Yeah.
go do their business. I'll tell you what I do. My secret, I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I put down a little tarp
Yeah.
on the area. With the grass, I can't do that because that tarp is
It's
gonna
gonna
get
kill the
heavy and it's
grass,
gonna
yeah.
pull, kill the grass. With turf, I just put a tarp in that area and I literally just pull
Pull it when
pull
there's
it
a couple
and it's there.
couple inches.
Or if I forget to put the tarp and we get that surprise snow, my leaf blower, and I just go in there and
Blow it
blow,
off.
spot open. I have videos that I share of that doing
Yep.
that because as a homeowner, I want to spend more time with my family and less
Yeah.
time doing work around the house, right?
Absolutely.
So less chores and more time enjoyed with the family
Yeah.
is the goal. And you're still gonna have some maintenance with the turf.
Yeah. Well, there's some maintenance, but it's a lot less than having to pay someone to cut, weed and feed, treat it, and then if it doesn't end up growing, now you're watering it, now you're reseeding it. So a lot less maintenance. And every time we have a job, I always have leftover. I always use it at my house. I just cut a nice big piece for my home gym. Love it because that's where I lay, do my crunches.
Yeah.
Kids are laying on it, instead of laying on the concrete on the outside where I did have concrete that met up to my deck. Couldn't take that out because that basically cantilevers over my basement.
Yeah.
So if I had jacked that out, but the heights weren't right, so I just covered over everything with turf. You'll have to come see it. I covered over those two little areas with turf, and it looks great, button right up to the deck, and it's green all year round. So I look outside my bay windows, I see my deck, I see the green space, and then it's right there. It's the deck railing.
We have some studies that show, on average, turf, a homeowner, and if you're meticulous, you got to clean debris off of it and brushing once in a while. The average homeowner will spend about an hour and 55 minutes a year maintaining their turf.
Yeah.
Versus if they were, doing their own yard, not getting somebody involved, they will spend about 28 hours a year on average doing yard work.
Yard work, yeah.
That's, again, time is everything to us.
Yeah.
That's one commodity we don't get back, right?
Yeah.
So what can we do? And you see it now with architectural design, all these engineering firms, architects, they're going toward the turf because they see an added value to it for the home.
Mm-hmm.
All the big designers, as far as the home designers, they're all going to artificial turf because it enables you to do much, much more things.
Mhm.
Grading becomes a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about your, grass, sod, whatever it is,
Mhm.
washing away if you are in,
On
you
a
have a little
slope.
bit of slope.
Yeah.
You can secure this in almost any area. It could be pitched down as far as 90 degree, and you still can
Well,
be able
yeah.
to secure it with something you can do
Yeah.
with natural.
Yeah,
sod.
we're gonna use it again at the swim club. We're gonna wrap some concrete, like I was telling you when we just put in that order with you. But I think it's gonna look amazing next to the swim club pool. And there's old busted up concrete that they didn't have in their budget to rip out, but that was the lid basically on the pump equipment room. So it's not like you can take it out. It's not an easy piece of concrete to take out. So we're just gonna wrap it, glue all the turf to it, and I think it'll look awesome from like aerial views, plus just walking up to the whole
For
the whole
sure.
pool. It's gonna look amazing.
I'm sure it's gonna look great, and
So-
it's gonna resolve their problem as well.
Yeah, let's take it back a little bit for some people that don't know you. Where'd you grow up, man? Where'd you go to high school? And then you had to tell us a little bit about the companies you helped oversee and
Sure.
run before.
So a little bit
Turf.
of background. I'm originally from Morocco. Moved to the States when I was 17 years old. I lived in New York first. I do not consider myself a New Yorker.
I hope
heck,
not.
The heck with those Knicks. Let's not bring up that sore subject. So my background as far as education was in international business management and law. I got into risk, reinsurance specifically. Did that for about 10 years. I also worked for Goodyear as a purchaser for petroleum products. Did that for about 4 or 5 years right before the insurance. And then I got into artificial turf. And just like everything in the world, I truly believe in networking power and in that, FaceTime, that not the one on your phone, but
Yeah.
you and I are having right
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
And growing those relationships. And I sat next to somebody at Capitol Grill in King of Prussia. I used to sit next to them almost every week.
Wow.
My office was across the street. And he was a turf company owner, Hank Jewelisher, if you listen to this.
Nice.
Big credit to him. And he's the godfather of turf.
Really?
It's
like as far as manufacturing or just installation, both?
So he started some of the biggest companies that are still until this world.
Okay.
Here. He had his hands on almost in every one of these companies. And he's somebody that I respect greatly. He's retired now and been retired for 10 years, but as somebody that I still call.
Still talk to.
Same thing with Charlie Doherty is another one that is 28 years in the business. He's a partner of mine in many of the projects, and I call him up every day. So that's how I got into it. We spoke about it once or twice. He always told me how great it was, how great I would do at it. And one day I said, let me give it a try. It combined everything kind of that I like in life, sports, outdoor, risk management, and precise planning. Those are the things that I'm trained on the risk side. Risk side, you're trained on managing expectations, lowering liability, lowering any kind of, you want to run as low to zero error as possible, and then also preparing for worst case scenarios. And I think that's something that all of those things came together when I looked at turf and sports construction.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you probably love to do, and now that you're doing it, you're like, hey, I love my job, and that's like nothing more rewarding than that.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's almost like a primitive thing, like I men build fire kind of thing.
Yeah.
You sit there and you bump your chest. You maybe not figuratively, but I'm not literally,
figure
but
it out.
figuratively. Yeah, you sit, you look at it and you go, "Wow, I did this. I just made this." And the sense of pride, and it's very rewarding, as you already know, to go from a patch of dirt to a field the kids play on, or a playground, or somebody's backyard. Just that reaction that you get from somebody that they come out and they're just super happy to see what they are.
I mean, part of the reason why I do the hardscaping and I love it in the pool so much is because when we're done, we look at what we built and it's like, all right, this isn't just a little playground or a little patio. This is a masterpiece, right? And I go into every job loving it and can't wait till it's finished. So I try and get it done as quick as we can, make the client happy, see how much we complete it and did at someone's backyard just makes me happy. So I can contest to the way that the turf makes you feel when it's done, because especially a field or like, a putting green or something, and
it is almost, and I would say I'll get even more gratification when I do the smaller project, so to speak, than I do the larger project. The larger project that goes, there's months and months and months and months of preparation and organization, scheduling, and all of that.
Pain in the ass,
But you kind of walk into it like knowing exactly what it is, expecting things, when the deliveries come in, and there's not a lot of moving pieces, although there's many moving pieces, but they're controlled movements.
Yeah.
Versus, the smaller project is, hey, we start excavating here and we hit a root. What should we do? Hey, we've had that once before. Hey, Jim, what's going on, man? There's a route here that we're not accounting for. What do you guys do when you do this? Something that I was, when I was not prepared for. And it's the challenge, it's the daily challenge that keeps you going.
Yeah, it is. Someone said, must be nice owning your own business, right? It's like,
They must not have theirs.
They must not have a business, because it is nice when you're 20 years in, but it's still a pain in the ass. you know?
It's
I mean, you have to grind 24/7.
you are on the clock 24/7, and for you and I got along for many reasons, but one of the reasons is we both have our names behind our businesses.
And we care about those
Yeah,
names.
exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, your name is everything,
Yeah.
right? Just like it is to you. To me, I'm generation zero in this country. There's nobody with my last
Yeah.
name that ever came here and started something. And I'm looking to leave a legacy for my kids,
Yeah.
something for them to be proud of and to continue. And the only way I can do that is by offering myself 100% to every one of my clients, which it is the challenge right there, is the ability to cater to every one of those clients personally and give them that personal touch, that comfort that comes with knowing them so they can make that decision in full confidentiality.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to have a larger company, and I struggle with that every day. Like, yes, I want to be big, but then you lose kind of the quality of it. And I was out today digging a pool. I like being there. My CFO says, you got to get yourself out of the excavator. You got to delegate. And I'm like, people want to, like, I tell these clients when I'm out selling a job, my sales guys tells them, look, Jim's on site day one. I'm there to hold their hand. And I like that because guess what? If we hit rock, it sucks telling somebody it's going to be an extra 20 to 40 grand, right? I don't want to have to pick up the phone and call them. I want to knock on the door while I'm there and be like, hey, we hit rock. This is how we're going to handle it, right? And part of that goes a long way. I know I shouldn't be there. I love taking off for a day and just digging and, making sure things are all right. But part of I feel guilty if I'm not, especially when they're spending that much amount of money and they trust in us, right? So that's a tough thing.
It's tough to find that equilibrium between, running a company and being on site, hands-on with everything. It's taxing. It's very, very, very taxing on a person, on a business owner. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think growth, and your growth especially, is directly because of that.
Yeah.
So I might disagree with the CFO a little bit here and say you have become who have you become as a company because of who you are, because of that. So to continue in a different direction is kind of going against who you are as a person. And I can see why you have a challenge with that and you struggle with it because you feel guilty, like you said, you want to be there. But that's a guilt that we have to deal with. It's something we have to manage and push every day. And you hope, and just what my hope as well, is you train somebody long enough and strong enough that they can represent you. They will never be you, but they can represent you to a good degree.
Like my son. I mean, he's 20 years old.
And I've seen it in the videos.
Yeah,
man.
he's more he's better than me on videos. So I love, and people want to see these young kids out there nowadays, right? Like you're watching, like I know kids all day are like, not salty, but kids all day that watch it are like, oh yeah, it must be nice having daddy's money or something like that. Like when you see a post or a TikTok of him, but like.
But I've seen your son with you at work. I've seen him in projects. I've seen him work.
He's a worker, dude. Yeah.
To me, it's like, I hate to say it, but the heck with everybody else's opinion about that, because I've seen the work that's behind it and you've seen it and you know it. Not only that, when you hear your son, especially from a professional, he's knowledgeable.
Yeah.
You can't challenge what he's saying.
You can't,
So unless you challenge the context of what he's saying, everything else is just noise to me.
Yep. Yeah, no, he's come a long way. I mean, he was riding around in a plow truck with me at 10 years old, like falling asleep, hitting his head on it. Every time I hit a snow pile, he'd, hit his head, but he was out there shoveling it. Yo, wake up, next stop, and he loves snow removal. He loves machinery. So like he's on that kind of heavy side of excavation crew and they're doing great. And he's learning, he's picking up the tape measure. He's picking up the transit. He's learning all the heights. He's probably been training on heights and elevations for the last year and a half, 2 years, but that's not the easiest thing. It's not like you can just throw a 20-year-old out there and say, get it done.
Well, that's what the other thing I was going to say. How many people his age know what he knows? He knows, and he has the benefit of, obviously, his learning curve is not that great. Why? Because he's been around it all his life. He has, he had you have him sit with him in the truck while you plow and all that. So he has been used to all of this. None of it surprises
new,
him.
yeah.
None of it scares him because he's been around it versus
Yeah.
somebody else that just started on it. But kudos to him, and I saw that. I was really proud of it,
Thanks,
man.
man.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that he's doing well.
I'm sure he'll see the video. He watches them all the time, and he's like criticizing me on the videos. You know, it's like
That's a kid. I have a 16-year-old son, and he think everything that I do is not cool whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They
I'm
don't
the
think we're
least
cool.
coolest parent in
Yeah.
the world.
So where do you think the synthetic turf industry is heading over the next 5 years? You know, is it gonna get better? Is it gonna get worse? Is it gonna plateau? Like, how do you?
You
How
asked
do
me
you feel
that question, and there's this sense of excitement inside of me that I try to retain because at the end of the day, I'm a little bit of a technical guy. You know, I
Mhm.
come from a numbers side of the world, so when I see certain things, studies, that gets me excited more than seeing the product itself. And to answer that question, you know, to see where something is going, you have to see where it came from, and we already touched up on it, how it came from being just green carpet and indoor carpet and that was applied outside to all of this engineering being put into it. It's a precise engineered surface.
Yep.
And over the years, it has been challenged by anybody that was against turf. You have some environment stuff that came in. You have some PFA, some chemical stuff that came in, and those were particularly brands that were using certain things.
Yeah. Let's touch on that real
Sure.
quick. So, some people say that I guess it was at the vet or somewhere where they put turf down. It was giving off an odor, and they felt like they were getting cancer from it. Or was that an actual true fact?
There's a lot of stories that go out there, and I always stick to the Nike study. Okay, to me, any big corporation that goes and spends $100 million on a study that necessarily they don't make money out of it. You know, Nike doesn't build fields. Well, they do build fields, but they don't sell fields. They build fields for, you know, communities and all of that. We did one with them actually in New York. Yeah. So they'll come into a neighborhood and build a whole field. You know, put
That's
their
like a
logo on it.
donation.
Yeah, it's
That's
like a
cool.
donation to help, you know, lower income neighborhoods,
sweet,
so on
yeah.
and so forth. Yeah, very, very good initiative from their part. But when Nike's study came out, found out that it was the infill. It wasn't necessarily the turf. It was the rubber infill that was going on in it.
No way.
And that's something that I'm very familiar with because I was with Goodyear at that time. And Goodyear had, and many, you know, not just Goodyear, many other tire companies had one big issue. And it used to be on the top of every quarterly meeting is what do we do with the used tires?
Used tires.
Every state.
Such a big market.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to figure you're going through a set every year almost.
By law in the States, you cannot burn tires. You can't bury them, right? And there's also certain states that tell you cannot reuse them.
Yeah.
So they sat on land piles for months, years, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they don't rot, they don't deteriorate.
And every one of those, you know, tire companies had to pay a yearly tax to those states for those. So it was a big waste of money.
Big waste of money.
So when turf came about, Astro, they were like, oh, well, we need to make it, you know, we need to make it more playable, more balance, ball balance, you know, make it more comfortable on the feet. We need to add some kind of rubber material to give that bounce.
Yeah.
Boom.
Used tires.
Used tires, let's shred them up. Unfortunately, with tires, they have a steel mesh inside of them.
Yeah,
you ever seen a blowout? They have a steel mesh.
I seen a machine that like pulls that
rips
mesh
all of it
out of it. It's pretty crazy.
But it doesn't. The thing is most of those machines do not rip all of the mesh. It's
All of it.
almost impossible to rip all of the mesh. There's some machines that claim that they get to 99% of it, but earlier machines didn't. Matter of fact, some of the machines didn't at all. What they did is just grinded everything
and use a magnet to try and get it out.
And we all both know that magnet is not going to get all of it. So the Nike study found out that because of that recycled rubber infill, which we haven't used in over 8 years, and I'll never use it no matter what the circumstances, although there's clean one now, the micro dust from the steel mesh was getting absorbed into the lungs of the players, football players and soccer goalkeepers the most because they are in the ground the most. They tackle and they get down. And you see it sometimes in all the field where the player kicks or something. You see
You see the black infill.
And you know, it was just like asbestos maybe in the 70s. You breathe it in, it latches to your lungs, and then years and years later, you have, you know, some kind of lung cancer out of it. Turf has come a long way since then. What I have in front of you, for instance, these are biofills. This is a natural coconut and olive pits.
This doesn't smell like anything.
It doesn't. It absorbs moisture. It passes it through, and it allows you to use a natural product that is not going to be harmful for your children whatsoever, or for anybody
Yeah.
whatsoever, pets, children. For you have also some EnviroFill, you have zeolites, which is Idaho, they're granites that come from Idaho. There
Yeah.
are sand-like particles.
Yeah, we use I don't know what it's called, but I think
EnviroFill,
EnviroFill,
yeah,
it's
the
that
green stuff. Yep.
That's
That's the stuff
pretty-
I put you guys on.
And then
EnviroFill
there's
is
pet friendly as
Yeah.
well.
So EnviroFill and zeolite are my two favorite to use with pets. They are both antimicrobial. They're natural antimicrobial. They're an organic fiber, an organic sand, so to speak. So it could be absorbed by a child or something without any, harmful damage to them. And it's a great pass through, to the point now that it's being used in agricultural applications. Farms are using it because you use less water to irrigate, because it just loves to suck up whatever is on the surface and pass it down.
So some of that infill that's pet friendly has an odor blocker as well.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it'll distort or eliminate the smell. But also you want to make sure the right drainage is underneath of it. That's what I tell people all the time. It's like, hey, if you want me to bid pet friendly in turf, it's different than just regular turf.
Absolutely.
The installation process, plus you want that odor blocker.
So I think this is a good time to touch up on why is that that's important. When I speak about turf, I always use the term system.
Mm-hmm.
I throw the word system after it because it's a system that works all together. It's drainage underneath. You want to have your stone bed. Then you want to have your turf, and you want to have an infill. Mm-hmm. Now, where a lot of people fall short, let's say you have pets and you're doing a dog run, you want this drainage to allow vertical drainage, but you also want to account for some horizontal drainage. So you got to drive that, their business, their PPs or whatever, you want to drive that away from the area.
Especially if it's clay soil.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we know in this area, a lot of it is clay soil.
Yeah.
You start, you get to under 6 feet and then you're hitting clay, which is almost zero absorption. So we got to deal with those liquids to go where else. When it sits, like any other liquid, when it sits under, I make the example of, you have kids, you have a pool, your kids jumps in the pool with a t-shirt and then puts it on the deck. Mm-hmm. And then, day later, you clean it up, you pick up that t-shirt and it just smells so bad. Because moisture was trapped underneath of it, the sun was hitting it, mold's going to grow, and that's what it smells going to. Same thing's going to happen with turf systems, is you want, first and foremost, the right drainage. Second, the system itself and the turf, you want to back in. Like, for instance, this is a pet turf back in. It's not polyurethane. It's not something that is thick that is going to stop the drainage. This whole back in drains through. As you can see, not like other turfs where it has the punctures every 4 inch. This one is special. It's the newest stuff. It's a green back in. It allows every square inch of this to drain vertically. Yeah. Versus, the other turfs, with the polyurethane or PU back in, they will still drain, but they're not going to drain at this rate. Yeah. This is like 213 inches per hour versus the other ones will be around 80 or 90, maybe sometimes 100 inches per hour.
The biggest thing I hate about installing it in certain townships around here is most townships include this in their impervious coverage, which I think is BS because water's going to drain through it. Water's going to perk through it. And they claim it as impervious.
So as you know, sometimes when you're dealing with townships, you're dealing with somebody with a clipboard and a checkboard, right? And they have to check boxes. And as soon as you say a word, a check box. We've had an instance not too long ago at Hanover Township where they considered it just like concrete, and
which is wild.
Yeah, and they just had a pool installed, so they were left with almost no area that they were allowed to pour anything. And we went in and did a presentation for them. We took the time to do a presentation, not only for our client, but to educate that person and those people in that office on what turf is. I argue that turf is better than grass as far as handling drainage, water storm management, et cetera, et cetera.
Holding back or distorting or just, like in a large event, if you have grass on a hill, that's just going to run
down.
Over.
Yep.
With turf, it actually has to find its way through all the fibers. I mean, I feel like
it's a
no-brainer.
You're gonna find your way through the fibers. That's one. So let's say you have this turf here, which is 1.75 inch pile heights. The water is gonna penetrate this and get to this within seconds, right? It's not gonna sit here. It's not gonna puddle up. But what the added part of turf and the importance of the base is you're gonna create 4 to 6 inches of separation between whatever soil is underneath, clay soil,
Correct.
whatever soil, and the turf. So even if it's on a hill, it's given time and space. It's almost like a basin that you created that retains all that water. It has a place to stay. With stormwater management, you can manage everything underneath the turf. We have pipes redirecting water to certain spots, and we even designed certain basins where the water is being reused to water the plants down. So we just put 50-gallon drums at the end of it. Once it fills up, it outpours. But you have
then you
that
still
with a
have
pump,
yeah.
and you just turn on that water and you water it down.
That's actually a great idea to sell someone on like an underground storage tank.
Yeah, we did it when we did the Gooley Park field right here, in our neighborhood. That's Nether Providence.
Okay.
We did a basin, an underwater basin, to irrigate the garden they have there. They have
That's
a garden
wild.
that the Boy Scout
Yeah.
built
I
there.
think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so now the water just kind of runs from the field into this little
Catch basin.
Yep,
with a
catch
pump.
basin, and then with a pump, and they can use it. They don't have to bring a water truck anymore to
That's
water
crazy.
their yard.
Yeah, that's crazy. What would you say the most challenging part managing like a turf company like this is?
I would say first is managing expectations. The phone is gonna ring nonstop.
Yeah.
Artificial turf is very popular now, and I hate throwing figures at it, but it's in the billions of dollars as far as an industry. I always say that we're like 5-6 years behind the West Coast, especially California, when it comes to architectural
Turf's
design.
everywhere out there. I mean, they use it everywhere.
It's used everywhere, and it's trending this way too. Arizona, California, and Nevada now offer a tax credit for using artificial
Really?
turf because it's
Why is
less.
that?
Well, they have water issues.
Oh, okay.
They already have water issues in California.
People using less water to
Yes.
then water their lawn in a drought.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So you're not watering your lawn. Now you have a lawn that stays nice and green for you all year round.
Well, I love it. I mean, I use it every chance I can get. And I'd like to say that I was probably, I don't know, I can't say I'm one of the first to use it around a pool in our area, but I mean, we started using turf probably
You
7
guys are
years
definitely
ago.
among the first ones around this area that we definitely
That are selling it on more residential applications. You see some, like, whatever it may be, you see some parks that people are doing now, that townships are doing that are trying to incorporate turf. But I ever since I seen the turf around the pool, probably from California or a picture from California, I just wanted to keep selling or try and sell it.
It's just like a great look.
Yeah.
And especially I've seen your pool. You have when you throw lines and you throw in, a pool and you have all your designs. It almost complements anything because you can cut it in a wave, you can cut it in squares, you can cut it in circles. It will fit any shape that you want to go with the design. It's something, again, it goes back to set it and forget it, so to speak, where the homeowner doesn't have to, or their yard maintenance or whatever, it doesn't have to carry weed whacker to this one little tiny area, and
I mean, the little helicopters stick in it right now, but I mean, I have my little leaf blower. I go outside, I blow it all off, and
that's all you need.
And if it is in like a large field, which I haven't had this issue, but I mean, I'm sure you could just spray some weed killer on some of the cracks or the outer edges, and weed whack right up against it.
So you can weed whack right against it.
You want to have like maybe some sort of buffer.
I usually put some kind of buffer.
Yeah.
Almost.
Whether it's pavers or river rock or something like
even
that.
Pavers, river rock, and sometimes, if we're doing a project where the budget is very sensitive, we go with something as, just edgers.
Yeah.
We have certain edgers that we use. We use bender boards as well with designs on them.
Yeah, so you kind of got me into using those bender boards. I've been using like old deck boards. Like if I have a leftover deck, whatever, we over order 5 pieces, fine, leave it here. We're definitely going to use it. It's either we're using it for a freeform pool or we're using it for something where you have to put your form boards up, leave that form in the ground. It's never going to rot, and then you staple all your.
You
turf
can
to
go
it.
with either pressure treated wood. Obviously, to me, I love those bender boards just because you can play with those shapes, especially when you're doing like putting greens. You can play with those shapes and create a space. unfortunately, it's something that should mention, and I would love for everybody to listen to this part. Stop nailing turf down. You're making everybody in the industry look bad, because now the client's going to look at it and it moves and it shrinks, because they watch videos and it's popularity. California started first. You're going to see stuff over there, but their weather over there is dry all year round.
Yeah.
Arizona, same thing. They're not worried about soil
Freeze and
movement,
thaw,
freeze and thaw. This turf is going to move. And if you just shooting nailers, I don't care if you're shooting 2-foot nailers through it, you're pressing it down. You're compressing it down, which is going to eventually show with nailers. Eventually going to show in it. Second, that turf is going to want to move. And the nailers, even if it moves a hair, as you know, over 100 feet, it's like 6 inches. It does not look good.
Yeah.
You got to do your anchoring boards in the perimeter. You have to attach that. You have to rebar it to the ground. You have to attach it. Otherwise, you're doing a disfavor to the client. And a year or two, that turf is gonna move.
Yeah, we nail like the outer edges to the tack board.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can. I didn't mean the nails are on the edges.
And then the infill kind of just
the
holds
infill
the
weighs
center
it down. But what I mean is, people are using spikes. 6-inch, 8-inch spikes
just along the edge. Yeah.
Yes, because they seen videos in California and Arizona where you can do that. Dry weather, there the ground is solid. It's not going to move on you. And they do just a light coat of maybe screening, stone dust, and then they throw the turf on top of it. They're not worried about drainage because it doesn't rain over there. They're not worried about any of that. They're not worried about the turf moving. Here in this side of the world, we do. And so please, anybody listening, use anchoring boards, put them in your quote, educate your client about it, and tell them why you need them.
Charge accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Don't try and just charge a cheap price just to get the job. You got to make some money on it, but you want to do it right also.
Yeah, for sure.
We might have touched on this, but what trends are homeowners asking for right now in the turf industry?
So I think we mentioned already the mini fields. You have a 30 by 30 in your backyard. We can do a small training area for your son, your future soccer star or football star, lacrosse. We've done many baseball training areas. Putting greens are huge right now. And
everybody wants them.
Somebody that has it in their house, you see the entertainment value as well. You bring people over.
When we first finished it was a par 3. It's a little par 3. It's 58 yards or something like that.
I think it was about 60 feet.
About 60 feet. Awesome. It's cool, but I'm so glad I did it, because when we have people over, everyone loves the golf.
Yeah.
And it's I had the simulator, and that gets boring over time. But a little par 3 out back, everyone's betting, everyone's, talking shit to see who gets closest to the pin, and it's fun. But it also is something cool on an aerial view with the whole yard.
Absolutely. It's one of our most viewed videos, I think, on our Instagram.
Really?
Because you live right next to a golf course. So we started the video from the golf course, and we worked it our way to your property.
How many views does it have?
I don't know. I'll have to check on it, but it's up there. Every time I see it, it's one of the most trending. I'm pretty sure we're both tagged in that video. Both our companies are tagged on that video. Yeah. Well, it says on there, Piazza Property Management as well. The other thing is pickleball and paddleball.
Pickleball is huge right now.
It's almost crazy. It's a $5 billion industry, and everybody, we're doing one right now in Wyncote, which think about it. It's a quarter of a tennis court, right? So you don't have the space, you don't need that much. So it's a quarter of a tennis court. It's not much work. It's not crazy engineering. We now do it on both artificial turf. We have a turf just for pickleball and paddle, or padel, however you want to pronounce it. And or you can do it on a PU rubberized flooring.
Do you install the rubberized flooring as well?
Yes.
Do you contract that out, or do you?
No, it's something that we do ourselves. Okay. We have a couple of different ones.
So that's not to cut you off, sorry. That's the rubberized kind of membrane that they put around all the outdoor commercial school swing sets.
Yeah, so there's
playgrounds.
There's different kinds.
That stuff is awesome.
Yeah, there's the stuff that you would pour around, a spray. There's a spray kind that, if you have the right machinery, you can spray into the area. Just almost when you're doing the final touch of the pool, when you come in, you plaster in it. There is stuff that is squeegeed on that we would put it on top of black blacktop or a concrete pad, and there is stuff that you can put on top of a loose stone base.
Yeah, I think it's a couple inches thick. It gives you that kind of soft.
Yeah, it's gonna give you that
feel.
rubber. For
And that gets trowed on, I think.
yeah, it
Mixed
gets
and trowed
shrouded.
on.
You put these pads down, then you trout the color and finish on
Mhm.
top of it, the rubber finish that is mixed with whatever color that you want.
Well,
and
that's
then you
good
put
to
your
know
lace in.
because I have some people ask me, for their playgrounds. I mean, obviously, it's like some people can only spend so much on a playground. Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to spend 15 grand for the base of their playground, unless it's someone pretty wealthy and that's what they want, right?
It's not for everybody, and what we try to do is give you an option that is within your budget. My favorite thing about this is solutions.
Yeah.
So that's what we do, right?
How to-
We go
how
in
to-
there and
yeah.
we find a solution.
Yep.
They want this, and let's find a way,
We'll get
figure a
away.
way to get it
Yeah.
done. With that is again products. What are you going to use for playgrounds? To me, the best way to go about it is artificial turf, the shorter pile turf, and nylon turf. The stuff that I've shown you before. The built-in shock pad. It's 2-in-1. You lay it down and you're done. There's nothing to do it. That's your least expensive way to have a proper playground, and also answers to the HIT criteria, like we mentioned earlier, head injury criteria.
Yeah. I mean, we went over, one of my questions is like, what's the biggest difference between luxury turf, kind of like what you sell, and the basic ones that you might find on Amazon? Because, I mean, anything you find on Amazon is probably like junk. I mean,
So,
not everything, but
I'm
some things are junk, right? It's worth maybe buying it from you because you're wholesale, but also you're getting a better quality.
So we kind of touched up on this earlier, and I'll get back to it. And this is going to be a 3-part kind of answer. The first part is you're going to look at the source, right? Where does the turf come from? Unfortunately, there's places where I just don't trust the third-party testing. Every product has to have a third-party testing by a manufacturer out of Shanghai. And I don't know the party that tests. I don't know whether that tests. So I'm not discounting it by any means. For me, it's comfort and trust, and that is not there. The second thing is the components. What is the turf made of? And that's what the biggest thing that I tell our clients. When we come in, we give you our quote, we give you our consultation. You don't necessarily have to go with us, but please listen to the next following things, because these are the things that you should base your decision on. And especially when picking the material, the first part of the system, you want to know how tall these fibers are.
Yep.
How dense the turf is. Like, for instance, this is
It's
a
pretty dense.
98 ounce dense
it
turf.
is
It's very,
so
very, very
soft with
yeah.
this smaller fines in it.
So between this and perhaps a 43 ounce turf, it could be a $2 difference in square foot. But if I come in and tell you I'm installing turf for you, and you don't know the numbers, you don't know how thick it is, how long it is, I can bring you a much lower build. Less materials are used to build it, and of course it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what are they made from? Like, what materials are actually used in here? So polyurethane, is it nylon?
Is it recycled?
See, that's where you get into that part. Is it cycle zero? Meaning it was never used in anything else. If it's cycle zero, then you have more likely of a chance to have a good, clean product that doesn't have PFAs. If it comes from a cycled material, then you want to know, hey, can you give me a certificate for PFAs? Long-lasting chemicals on here as well is the other thing that you want to worry about. But most importantly, and about any turf, is the backing.
I do like that backing.
It's the backing.
That's like an upgraded from what we used in the past.
Yeah, we have different kind of backings, and we have even now that is a geotech fabric backing.
So this type
just
of
like that. This type of style here that you see, it's a geotech fabric built into it. It's super lightweight, the turf, so it's easier for us professionals to get it on a rooftop, to get it
shit's heavy
behind
too.
the house.
It's a
Oh yeah,
big
the
roll.
roof roll of turf is usually about 2,000 pounds.
Yeah. it's
So
heavy.
trying to move it in there, what most of us end up doing is we cut it before we get there, and hopefully you cut it the right way, and you cut
Better
the right
cut it the
beat.
right way.
Yeah. So
What do you mean you cut it the wrong way?
but the backing is very important. It's the most important component because it holds everything together.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have the right amount of polyurethane in the back, which holds these stitches, where you can see that little bit of glue, pretty much, that they pour on there, then these fibers, they're gonna come right out. They're gonna come right out.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've bought in the Amazon turf
I know.
before.
We talked about it.
We talked all about it, and it's not worth it because, again, when you're cutting it when you're using it, it's just flaking and some of it's
Yeah.
falling out. So that's like,
It's
all right, so how am I going to trust putting this down if all of
and
it's
you're not,
falling
and
out?
it's also you want to tell your client that you have a turf, that turf that you get from the Amazons or the .coms of the world, and it's mostly comes out of China. There's some decent product that now comes out of Vietnam, but it's gonna look good for a year. Does it have a UV blocker? Does it have a C4 resin spread to it? C4, sounds crazy, but C4 is a great UV blocker and heat blocker. Does it have any heat reduction technology?
Does it have that
Yeah,
heat reduction
heat
technology?
reduction
Wow.
technology. Glare. If you put in this against a building,
Yeah, is it going to heat up
is
and catch on fire?
that reflection from the window? Is it going because it magnifies everything? Is it going to burn a hole into the turf? We've seen product.
My siding did that.
So yes, so we've
Crazy.
seen product, and for those, I educate the client. Say, hey, before I install this turf for you, here's what you have to worry about: is that glare of that window hitting over here? I have a solution for you that's going to cost you less than $100. We have this film. We work with this company. They make this tint that goes into your window that stops the glare. You don't even see it. You can't tell it's there, but it's going to save the turf.
It's going to save the turf. Yeah.
Now,
I never even thought of that,
yeah.
but now you're saying that, yeah, like the one corner of my house for some reason and nowhere else on my house, but the window just beats at a certain time and a certain angle, and it heats up the siding and literally rippled my whole siding.
Oh, yeah.
My guy already replaced it.
It's glass that has a magnific, probably 200 times, 100 time magnifier. So if something hits glass and reflects, it's gonna come back. And I learned that we did a Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut. We were gonna do a pretty big project.
Wow.
And when I looked at it, I see all this glass. And that was the first thing that popped
First
in my
thing that popped
mind.
in your mind.
Not because I was knowledgeable, and I'm not gonna lie here to say
Yeah.
because I was some smart guy, because I was at Fat and Blue in Miami, and I seen the turf all like
Melted?
crumbled up and
Yeah.
melted. And I seen the glare from the window. So I started doing some homework, and I found a company that does these
Just
films.
tint 'em.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's clear film. It just stops the glare, it stops reflection.
That's crazy. How important is it to collaborate with guys like us in the hardscape and landscape contractors and other turf installers? I mean, like we have this conversation all the time.
It's imperative. It's so important. It's more important than anything else from the project before the project starts. The important, I'll break it to two sides. What's important for us, contractor, and what's important for the client, right? So I always look at something that's going to protect the client and myself at the same time, and protecting also their money. If I'm going to install turf after you install pool, for instance, you and I had these conversations. I say, hey man, when you're doing your excavation, you're prepping the outside, you're finishing up, don't bring back tons of dirt and try to cover that area, or bring stone instead. So that way I'm not charging him to bring my machine in there and dig up that dirt that you pushed back on. I'm not charging him my mobilization cost. And you're there on site. You and I can even have an understanding saying, like, hey, that's part of my bid. You do it. We work something out. You have your machines here.
I'm laughing because I'm not. And we'll get back to this, but I'm laughing because a buddy of mine is doing a hardscape job, and some other pool companies building the pool. Well, they said, yeah, you're good to go in and do the hardscaping, and all the pipes are exposed. He's like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? And the pool company's like, backfill. They're like, we left it open so you guys can see where all the pipes were. He's like, I don't care. We're not going down that far. Backfill your pipes. It's like, what are you guys doing? And he's calling me. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, tell them to come back out and freaking backfill it. They should be backfilling.
Yeah, and that's
themselves.
that also doesn't, to me, I try to stick to my niche. I don't know anything about plumbing. I don't know anything about pool construction. I am not going to touch that part of the work.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it goes back to that communication with everybody involved.
That's the issue with, I have clients ask me all the time, well, my deck contractor or my guy wants to plumb the pool. Well, I don't even want to do the pool if your guy wants to plumb the pool.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't even want to do the job necessarily if your hardscaper is going to do all the hardscaping, because it's a pain in the ass. I have my certain things and I have my schedules. Well, what if this hardscaper then comes in and busts one of my pipes? Or what if he holds up my job because he's not as quick as us? Or what if he does a horrible job? I'm not going to want to show my pool with the hardscape around it. That's a horrible job. So that's why I kind of focus on plumbing, excavation, hardscape, landscape, fencing, everything that has to do with the pool and the pool itself, and try and handle everything as much as I can in-house. But I get where you're coming from too.
It's
It can be a pain in the ass.
yeah, for sure. And also from like we spoke about, and I keep on mentioning liability and risk. That's what we call an unmarked liability ownership. That means, yeah, the work's gonna get done. You probably backfill it the right way, or your buddy will backfill it the right way. But if something happens, who's responsible?
Yeah.
Is it the guy that put the stone on it? He put too much stone, compacted it, and busted the
Yeah.
pipes. Is it the guy that left it open? And now you open in this whole kind of worms that you don't want to get to, and you don't have time to sit there and argue about who it is.
No.
So that's why, for me, I say it's the best. We got to identify responsibilities. We got to identify the scope of work. We got to discuss that scope of work with everybody involved. So I know, hey, you got to leave me at 4 inches below the deck. So I can come in with my 3 inches, whatever it is. And then lastly, which turf did you decide on? Did you decide on that 1.5 inches, that 2 inches, that 3 inches, whatever? Well, not 3 inches, 2 inches, an inch. Where is my anchor boards going to be in relevance with your finished grade?
Correct. There's
All
a
of
lot
that,
more
yeah.
communication. When
So
I
we
can just
have
explain it
you
to my-
have to communicate that. And we had that project like we're doing at Wincoat. Like I said, we have the similar situation with another pool company where, they expected us to cut the pipes through the turf in one area where they came back up and went to the pumps. And I said, no, I will come back when you guys have all your pipes done. I'll reschedule it. I'll take the bullet for this. I'll take the fall. Shame on me for not coming in 2 days before and make sure that you guys are done.
Sure, yeah.
But I will not start while you guys are doing here, and I'm not going to take this liability. And this is the contract I have with the clients. Sorry, bud.
And that's more or less why I do what I do, because it's such a pain in the ass coordinating all these other different contractors on a job. And it's just like, we already have enough building a pool. You got the gas guys, you got the electric guys. I mean, I wish I was able to do all that too, because that's a nightmare in itself, just coordinating all that. And that's part of the reason why I leave that off the quote to begin with. Whenever we do a new pool install, the electric and the gas is left off the quote until we get there and until my guys can get there and actually assess the price that it's going to be, because everything is a little bit different. We make, like, I did that when I first started building pools, and I was giving people prices for the electric and the gas, but then their meter needs to be upgraded, or their gas meter needs to be upgraded. It's like, I'm not responsible for that. Well, why not? You gave me a price already, but because I'm not responsible for your meter getting upgraded. Same with your panel. If your panel doesn't have 60 to 100 amp spots available for your pool, how's that my problem? So I kind of left that off. It's been helping me and saving me a little bit. And it sucks for the client not really knowing exactly how much. Like, I can give an idea. It's $3,000 to $5,000. You could be, for the gas, $2,000 to $4,000.
So you, Jim, you come from this life. You've been in this life, as a contractor. 20
years, 20 plus years.
And I've seen everything that you accomplished. And again, I'm proud of you. I'm proud to be friends with you. Where I come from and my training was always wired to see liability first and see the worst case scenario, which other contractors don't see. Because most contractors get the job done, get paid, right? That's the cycle that goes on their life. And between those cycles is order the materials that I need, blah, 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 blah. Everything else that doesn't happen within that cycle, it becomes an issue because it was never accounted for. So when they, that breaker box that needed the 60 watts is not there for them, if that was never discussed with the client, how do you expect the client to know that? If you never told them and educated them what needs to be done, when it comes to do something like that, they're going to get upset. Yeah. The first thing they're going to have, us as a human, we reject change. And we don't hear something, especially you don't know what's going on. You're just a homeowner. You're an accountant that never, seen a shovel before. He's just going to get upset and say, you're just another contractor trying to get more out of it.
Yeah, correct.
Versus if I tell you, A, B, C, and D. Here's A prime if this happens. Here's B prime if this happens. Here's C prime. And this in my contract and my scope of work. Yeah. All I have to do is come back and say, hey, remember when we discussed this situation?
Yeah. And that's all your quote.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the best. I barely made it through high school with wording certain quotes. AI has come a long way for me.
I was going to say ChatGPT.
ChatGPT and AI has come a long way, which is awesome because, and it's not like I'm trying to get over on any of my clients, but I have to cover that in terms and conditions. And on the bottom of my pool quotes, in the pool column, in the line on them, it clearly states, hey, if you want it included, we'll include up to 50 feet, but it doesn't include your main circuit, right? So we include all the electric and plumbing from the pool itself to the equipment pad. Anything from the equipment pad to your hookups inside or outside for gas and electric, that's what we don't include. Sometimes we will include it because a client wants to see a whole price, and then that's where we have to tack a little bit of percentage on top of it because we're managing all that as well, right?
For sure.
I don't want to be that guy, but we have to manage it, and it's a big pain in the ass.
You're offering the service.
But we're offering that service, and we want to make sure that we have the right qualified guys out there too. It's not like we're just hiring the cheapest guys, you know. So
somebody told me a long time ago when I first got into sales. I was first year in college. I got to sit with somebody pretty awesome. He's the founder of the dollar stores everywhere.
Yeah,
Steve. Big respect to you. And every year I go with him to the Eagles game. He has the box suite next to
local guy.
Yeah, local guy.
Wow.
He lives he used to live here. He's in Florida now.
Okay.
But he used to always tell me, and he's like, in sales, you're selling not to a robot. You're selling to a human being. Inherently, we want what's best. We always want what's best.
Yeah.
But we settle for what we can afford.
Hence why he started the dollar store.
Yeah. So you offer your clients the right options, and then they'll take a pick of what they can afford.
Not everything in the dollar store is $1.
No, of course not. But the whole idea.
I used to think that as a kid. Like,
Yeah,
go
the
to the
whole
dollar store, get whatever you want.
The whole idea behind it is you offer people everything that you can offer from your side, and you let them pick what they can afford.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And then, but at the end of the day, all of it is part of communication. If I never offered you this turf, how are you going to know that I have this turf among the other 36 turfs that I carry?
Yeah.
But I'm going to narrow it down to here's what the application is for. Here's what the client is. I might even see like the size of the yard, all of this. And then I'm going to give you 6 options, maybe 5 options. And then I'll tell you why each option is better than the other. And then you make the choice.
You make the decision. I do a lot of that with my pools because I don't want to be known as the cheapest pool builder out there, right? There's guys out there that'll build 500 pools a year, right? And just focus on quantity, not necessarily the quality of it, not necessarily the time frame of how long it takes them. They don't care that the client has to wait 4 or 5 months to get a pool. We're banging out pools in under 2 months. And the only reason it takes 2 months is because that gun night has to cure for about 20 days. Some people don't understand that, but and they kind of like worry a little bit if we're not there for a couple weeks when that gun night's curing. But we're done everything until that gun night cures, and as soon as that gun night cures, tile coping, and then hardscape starts, right? So, and once we're there, we're not leaving, we're not pulling off that job until the job's done. We're staying there, each crew's staying there until the jobs are done, which they like about us, that we're not going here, going there,
Yeah, if there is a compliment to be given in this situation, I've been to your job site before, and organized, clean job site. You guys are definitely have a system.
Yeah.
You run with it, and the unfortunate thing with a lot of other contractors, and I'm not bad mouthing anybody. I'm hoping that any of this will be educational to people.
Sure.
So all of us, I mean, if somebody gets turf installed not right, it reflects on the turf industry and that altogether. And they tell your neighbor, don't get turf installed. I got it installed. It lasted me, a year, and it looks like crap. So we do that by educating the contractors as well. And also by telling these contractors, especially the younger contractors, that it's okay to say no to a client, especially when it's a situation that is not going to be beneficial for them. Hey, I don't want to do the stone base. I can't install it for you without a stone base.
Yeah, correct.
But they're so worried about getting the job and get it done.
Yeah.
Then they'll, bend the knee to the request of the client, although it's not beneficial for them. And then a year later, the system fails.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who's they're calling?
Yeah, I mean, they're calling either the manufacturer.
No, they're not. They're not going to call the manufacturer.
No.
You know that. They're going to call. They're going to call you, the contractor.
Yeah, call you, the contractor.
You're the guy that the local guy that sold them the product.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're losing every time you're there.
Going back in.
You're losing money every time you fix it. You're going to lose.
I mean, I've had it in my backyard going on 5 years now, full sun, not a speck of shade back there, and it hasn't faded or weathered or pit, like nothing.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a premium product.
Yeah.
And your, .com, I call them the .com products.
.com
yeah.
products. What projects do you think that you're most proud of? I mean, I'm gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really taken a look at your website. I should have, because I really want to. I know you do amazing work because I've seen you post huge fields and your stories and stuff like that, but I don't know the extent. Let me hear
So
like what's probably the
I would say that the project that I'm proud about the most are not necessarily the biggest or the most lucrative that I've done. They're where I was able to absolutely give the client a solution for what they needed. And to me, what goes back in mind, I worked with this lady out in Northeast Philly, which is not the greatest neighborhood,
Yeah.
right? And first thing she told me, she's like, "Are you gonna be another one that's gonna hear where my business is and not even want to come give me a
yeah,
quote?"
true.
And I told her, "No." I said, "I'm not like that. I'll
Yeah.
send somebody or I'll come myself." And when I came there, she bought a business. She dumped her whole heart and money and soul
Life
into it.
savings,
Uh, she maybe didn't do the right planning as far as zoning, as far what do you need for a daycare. And she had a black top concrete that was, all jagged and all stuff. And that's a no-no. They wouldn't give her permitting. And she couldn't afford getting that all jackhammered out of there, removed, and then a new patio put in there. So we went in and elevated that entire area using these special trays that give us space in between the floor and whatever floor.
Okay.
And then it's almost like a floating deck if you think
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it.
I think I know.
So
what
we
you're
didn't
talking
have to touch and we put a turf right on top of it. And now that turf falls under the hit criteria, so a kid can fall on it, has shock pads in there. And it was probably for about 70% of what concrete companies were. And to be honest with you, it was just a moment of pride. She left a huge, long review,
about. That's
and
cool.
she just cried after it was done
Yeah,
because
that's
she
awesome.
thought she was going to lose her business. She was not going to be able to open on time.
Yeah.
And those are the projects that I'm most proud of. It's just able to, give a solution to somebody
Yeah.
that really, really needed it.
Yeah.
Their livelihood depended on it if it didn't happen. I also have some other moments of pride where I went back, maybe to like where I grew up and, build fields there. I like I told you before we started this, we were in Morocco, we were in Switzerland, Spain. So those are personal prideful moments,
Yeah.
not rather than, those are company pride, not
Yeah.
personal pride kind of moments.
So for people that don't understand, Amine and his company work not just inside of the US. I mean, is it
Yeah, as far as field
worldwide,
construction,
kind
we do,
of?
yeah,
I
we
mean-
go all over the world. We were blessed enough to do some, like I just mentioned, Switzerland, Morocco, Spain, England, Italy, which actually we signed now with a big Italy team
Wow.
that we're going to be doing their fields. And because
And you speak 7 different languages. By the way.
Yeah,
the smartest man I know. Right here. I mean, Christ, just
I
to
didn't know I
speak
could blush,
English
man.
and stuff.
Oh,
you know?
English is debatable after a few.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but 7 different languages. I mean, that's great because then you can technically go over there. People
Yeah.
trust you because you're speaking their language, but you're also, your shit.
To me, linguistics in general was just a bridge. If I tell everybody, if you and I would meet by accident, somewhere you're on vacation, let's say you're in Mexico, you're on vacation, and you've experienced this before, and you run into somebody who speaks English, or one of the people that work there is able to speak English. It just puts you out of comfort where you
For
can,
sure.
you let the guards down. This person knows me. They're from my, they understand my culture, they understand my language. So therefore, everything else becomes much easier. Also, I was lucky enough, I always say that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? That's how I define luck. And my previous life, I was working with a lot of government entities and overseas. And, that's who runs the FAs, sports, blah, blah, blah. So
You made those
once I
connections?
got there, I have a weird way of networking. I do 2 speaking events a year just for Newman and Widener University.
Wow.
And I always speak about the importance of networking. My networking is not, hey, Jim, how you doing? Need any turf? Hey, Jim, look at my new turf product.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, we got a new turf product. You're going to get those emails 100 times a day.
Yeah.
But I know that Jim likes dirt bikes,
Yeah.
right? I know Jim likes outdoors. I know Jim likes the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we don't live in the same city or we don't have the same common love for teams. Every time I'll see the Eagles doing well, that's my chance for me to network with you.
Yeah,
That's
just
when I
reach
pick
out.
up the phone,
Yeah.
and be like, I send you an email, hey man, your Eagles are doing great.
Mhm.
You must be really excited. Now, when you need a product or you need a project, who do you got to think about? The
Yeah.
guy that sent you 100 million, marketing emails, Or the guy that
reached out
cares about your kid's baseball
Yeah,
team or
correct.
your favorite soccer team.
Yep.
That's because you think of a friend and somebody you're comfortable with, and that's who you're gonna give a call.
Yeah.
At least that one initial call, and that's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need is
Yeah.
give me, the start of the thing.
Yeah, I mean that's just it's a conversational text where it goes a long way, especially if you're asking about their sports, kids sports or whatever it may be, and that shows what type of guy you are and the character that
Yeah, and that
you
helped me
carry.
like learn the industry as well. I mean, I had to take shortcuts. And I don't mean shortcuts literal like jumping steps,
Mhm.
but I had to learn construction, I had to learn excavation, I had to learn base construction, all of that in a small time
Period of
window.
time, yeah.
And the only way I can do that is by leaning on professionals. I can't do that by picking up a book. I
Yeah.
can lean that by, hey Jim, have you ever run into this situation? What do you do in that situation?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what Jim does. Hey Charlie, when you have this situation, what do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, the same as Jim. Then this must be the right thing
Must
to
be
do.
the right way to do it.
So let me
Yeah.
start following this until I figure a better way to do it.
Correct.
And that's the only way you can, continuous learning is
Dude, I steal knowledge from so
you
many
have
people.
to. You have to.
And when I was younger, like most people don't know like my background. Like I had a kid at a young age. He's 20 now. So I've had my business for about 20 years. I've been working in the hardscape landscape for probably about 24. I would get done school and go to work with my dad in Norristown. And we were doing carpentry and construction. I loved excavation. Whenever his guys were digging footers, I'd always be trying to hop in the machine. So, and then on the weekends, I had to go cut grass with my dad. He had about 20 lawns on the side. Saturday and Sundays, he would have to go cut them. On his weekends when he picked us up, hey, you're going out and cutting grass, or you're weed whacking the back hill, or you're doing this. I was always working, but I love doing the carpentry stuff. I love doing the landscaping, and me and him would always butt heads at work. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm done. I'm done being your bitch, handing you all the tools. I want to work outside.
Time for me to expand my wings.
Time for me to
right?
expand out. I just had, my son at that point, but I had buddies in the hardscape industry that I would go sub for on the summers. I just enjoyed being outside. I loved Legos as a kid, so I was building blocks, right? It was my thing. And just kept working and grinding, but I stole knowledge because in the winters I was slow with my business. So I'd go work for Rumford. I'd go work for Matt Morano's dad, Allstate Mechanical, doing steam fitting and stuff and I learned a little bit about each like industry in itself and saw what not to do, what to do, what not to do, what to do, what did I like to do, what I did not like to do. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, you pay me enough, I'll shovel all the shit on your lawn. I don't care, right? I'm that guy. I'm going to make money regardless today because I know I'm going to get up and go outside and kill it. And that's kind of what you have to do being in a newer business, and basically what you have to do in grinding in any business.
For sure. No, 100%. And, the continuous learning, it's, for instance, when I worked with attorneys, that's who I worked with the most. Attorneys have to do continuous learning every year. They have to do 40 credits.
yeah.
They have to do 40 credits.
Yeah.
For a guy that dropped out of law school, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
You'll have to do 40 hours of continuous learning a year. CPA is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes to our construction world, the construction world, that there's no state, minimum continuous learning for anything. B, you have...
And nobody taught you probably how to read plans.
Well,
I mean, right?
That's something I kind of learned and picked up on my own. It's kind of
same here.
Again, because
And
it's
I love
numbers, it's angles. It made sense. And a blueprint makes a lot more sense to me than somebody saying what they want to do.
Makes a lot more sense than reading the whole book.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
But Trex, for instance, Deccan, their engineering department put a whole booklet on how to properly install their decking, right? But they come out with a new product like every 2-3 years.
All the time.
Most contractors don't pick up the booklet and read what's on there and what's not on there. Also, most contractors don't pick up the phone and call the distributor or call the manufacturer and be like,
See if there's any new.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing this. What do you recommend? That's your biggest source of information right there, because they know exactly what exposure, what
Or
wins,
what's
what's been,
changed.
what
Yeah.
changed about it between last year and next year. So therefore, you always cut yourself short. as a contractor, if you're not continuously learning about product, if you're not educating yourself about the current products that you're using, you're always going to sell yourself short, because that's a mistake that's going to happen. Oh man, the grooves are different now. They're on 5/8 instead of 3/4 of an inch. Oh, we got to pull back all those snaps and snap, back them together. That's 2 days of labor. That's 4 guys. That's $1,500 you lost today.
Yeah.
And you had 30% on the job. You were going to make $4,500. Now you're at $3,000. You better not make another mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're doing work for free.
And that is the toughest part about having certain salespeople too in the pool and hardscape industries. They really got to know what they're doing. And my guys are really good. They all have boo-boos here and there. They all have small mistakes, but nobody eats those boo-boos but me. So that's why like sometimes they'll hear me screaming in here, but I'm screaming for like
it's
screaming,
a frustration kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I try to do when people buy turf from us, and you and I had a conversation. You asked me, what should I do? What should I do? I will give you all the information. Everything that I know, I will pass it down to anybody that calls and asks any questions, including like the smallest of the tricks that makes me better than the next company. Like, how do you do your seams to be invisible? How do you mesh them? I have, my guys now are some great guys, some turf surgeons, like I call them. They do like S seams. They do all kinds of seams.
That's the only way to go.
Yeah, checker seams. But you can do a nice, clean, straight seam without being that knowledgeable. And what it is, for instance, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but you have space in between each thread line. When you do a seam, you have to match that space in. So if there is a 1/5 of an inch here, when you put in the next piece next to it, you're not butting it right next to it. You have to create the same 5/8 of an inch all around it so the fibers don't push against each other. And also, when this thing expands, it's not going to push against the other seam and then show these fibers will stick up. And now you're like, oh, that's the seam right there. That's just a small.
No, it's smart. I mean, you could barely see that seam there, but you're technically, see how I S-curved it a little bit? But you're technically going to always see more of a seam on a putting green.
Yeah, so putting greens
than you are with
and that's the thing. When somebody calls and say, hey, do you guys do putting greens? I says, yes, we do. Hey, I have a quote for somebody else. Whoa.
What size is it?
I do guarantee having the best prices for similar material and similar installation method. Because I know if you're going to go with product like ours and our installation, nobody comes near us. I'm not the cheapest by any means. I don't try to compete to be the cheapest, because cheap reflects quality of the product.
For sure.
Inexpensive, affordable, good quality is what we're going to offer you. Now, if you're doing a putting green and you're laying it down on a area, you have to make sure that that area is graded where the seams are completely perfectly, because you're dealing with small piles. So if one area just, the screenings on there is just a tiny bit more, it's going to push one a little bit higher than the other. And then when you seam it and glue, when you put it together, you have to put tons of pressure on it. And that's something I learned from the glue manufacturer. Not from the turf manufacturer, from the glue manufacturer. I sat with them in Florida. And they told me, hey, our glue is water activated. You got to spray it with water before you put or you spray water on top of the turf when you put it down. But once you spray it with water, it activates a star rising. So if you don't have, and it rises to fill in these grooves.
Oh, wow.
So if you don't
Didn't know that.
Put pressure on it.
I seen guys put bags of infill sand on the seam.
My guys will line up either 2x4s and put bags on them, or I have hand rollers that they'll sit there and roll. Literally one seam, 20-foot seam, he'll roll it for 45 minutes straight. That's how you're gonna get a perfect seam.
Yeah. We're about to wrap up here. Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, it's manufactured hardwood flooring for sports courts.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been working for with this company.
This is sweet.
Yeah, we're the only ones in the United States that represent this company.
So is this going to go in like major league?
So this already, as you can see, this is a replica of the Final Four last year in Abu Dhabi, college Final Four. This is the same floor that we put there.
Did you do that? Were you contracted to do that?
So we were contracted to do it. We went over there overseeing everything. It's something that I'm super excited about.
This is awesome.
This is where my dorky geek side kicks in with things like that, technical things. What this is a completely detachable, movable parquet flooring for basketball, volleyball court, futsal. And it takes literally 6 guys, high school kids, to put it together.
That's crazy.
It comes in 3x4 pieces. It comes already in a crate, pre-made with all the logos cut into it, where somebody just comes, put it together, snaps it together, and you have a court in 6 hours, a full-size basketball court in 6 hours.
So is this what a lot of
This is what
because like you see the Flyers play one night and then you see the Sixers
so
play
the
the
Sixers
next
have
night,
a similar, I wouldn't say the same.
It's pretty crazy. Locks together pretty.
Sixers are on the doghouse, so we're not gonna. So maybe if they played on my court, they would do better.
They would do that.
Maybe Embiid will fall less, and get injured less. So what these are is we bake this wood for where this court is going. Okay. So no warping, no bending. I don't know if you've been to the local, basketball court. You'll see on the edges like a little bit of. Yeah. So this is not gonna warp. This also doesn't need you yearly sanding and sealing. It has a polyurethane finish with all the logos, and it comes ready, and it's gonna stay like that for as long as you need it to be. Like I said, 6 hours, you take it apart, you're doing an exhibition game in another town, you take your court with you, install it on a blacktop, anywhere that you have a flat surface. Yeah. You have it, you have the built-in shock pads. And last but not least, and what I try most clubs, you're renting a space, you put in a $300,000 basketball court in it, your lease is up, they tell you we're not renewing, you lost it.
So what do they stack these on pallets?
So we have special trays. We have special trays. Just you ever seen like oven trays?
Yeah.
The same thing. You push them in them. They're numbered. They're logos. Wow. Again, 6 high school kids will install it.
So you don't want to necessarily stack these on top of each other, right? So the trays basically.
Yeah, the trays lock them in place. They hold them in place. The trays also heat and moisture resistant.
Definitely locks in.
Yeah, and it just you send in a pin in each of the holes in the sides.
Yeah,
that's what locks in everything. Like I said, the most thing that excites me about this is the wood itself is baked to the area it's going. So
different climates, different controls.
So let's say we're doing here one in PA. We know we get a lot of humidity there in the summer, but in the winter the temperatures drop greatly. So we're gonna bake it to get the moisture out of it, or we're gonna add moisture to it. For instance, we did one in Vietnam. It's rains all the time. It's very humid in there. We need something that sucks up the moisture. Wow. The reason why I've been working with this company is I visited their site, and they had a client order a court but never finished payment. So they stored it for 3 years, and they were offering it to me, for really, really inexpensive. So I opened it. I'm thinking I'm going to find something beat up. And that thing was untacked. There was not a single bent board. And it sat in those crates for 3 years outside.
And you bought it?
Yeah, we put it in it's called Push the Rock Foundation out in North PA. They put this together. And they love it. That's the pictures I was showing you.
If somebody wanted to put this at their house, say they had money, they put it indoor, obviously, not outdoor.
Yeah, this is something you would do indoor. You can,
But if you wanted to buy a bunch of these and rent them out and put them in someone's backyard for the day.
Because
if it goes down that quick, if there was a way to
6 hours
snap together for a party. Right?
So think about it. You see how I took it apart?
Yeah.
So it's a 3x6 piece. So you and I will sit here. We'll just do this together, and we pull it and we'll stack it. The rack sits right next to you. You put it on the basketball court. You rack it. Once it's full,
That's
crazy. Go to the next piece. And the racks are numbered and labeled, and the boards are labeled and labeled. So it's just somebody following, you said Legos earlier. This is easier than Legos. Yeah. This is much easier than Legos. Yeah. You're not building something that is, horizontal structure or anything like that. And it just snaps back in place. I got to take both places in here. And it just snaps back in place just like this. And now here's your court.
That's crazy. I love it. Anyone out there that needs a basketball court.
Yeah, and we have other products.
Reach out to us. We'll send you.
We've done other products, and we did UPenn. I don't know if you ever drive by UPenn, and 76. You left on left side.
I mean, probably if I.
Well, you probably don't pay attention to it, but if you driving by, I'm not Penn, Drexel on 76, and you look on left hand side. We did the basketball court then with the PU floor, in which they had the blacktop. So that's another thing. You have a beat up blacktop court, we can come and make it look like $1 million.
Dude, thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, this was awesome, man.
We had an hour conversation last week, but I mean, it's great to talk to you. It's great to see you again.
Of course, man.
I hope you get a lot of business from this video, and I hope people watch it and learn about the turf a little bit more, and I hope some other hardscapers buy it. you
Yeah,
know?
I thank you again for having me.
Yeah,
This
man.
was great. If anything, I would hope, I would say, and pray that anybody that sees this video have any questions about artificial turf or sports construction, reach out to me. I am not that guy, as you know. I'm not that
No,
guy.
you're awesome, dude.
I'll give you the
Anytime.
time. I'll give you whatever knowledge I have. I don't hide anything.
If you don't answer right away, you always text
Yeah,
back. I'm the same
I will
way.
get back to you. And as I want everybody to have the information, because at the end of the day, it reflects on our industry.
Sure.
If people start saying pavers are bad, turf is bad, pools are bad,
Mhm.
we don't have a business anymore.
Yeah, correct.
If they're saying it because they had a bad product or bad installer,
There you
that's
go.
where we
Yeah.
want to stop that blood, that bleeding, and redirect people toward our product and educate them on them and with that.
Yeah. We got you a hoodie.
Ah,
we
thanks,
give,
man.
We give all the guests a hoodie. If it doesn't fit you, we'll get you the right size.
Is it a medium?
medium? You're a large
you.
type of guy, aren't you?
Thank you.
What
Yeah,
size are
it's
you?
I don't know, but thank you guys.
Yeah, man.
It's a large.
Is it?
It's a medium. There you go.
All right, throw them up. I think we have largest up there. We should.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
you
brother.
having me.
Thank you. You gotta get a